Could a simple conversation dramatically change the course of your career or catapult you to new levels of success? Welcome to The Lawyer Millionaire. I'm your host, Darren Wartz, financial planner for law firm owners. Today, we're stepping into the realms of redefining your business strategy and shaping up your network with our special guest, Deb Feder. She's the CEO of Feder Development, LLC, a seasoned coach, strategist, author, and sought after speaker. Deb brings to the table not just years of professional experience, but a refreshing perspective on how to navigate and flourish in a professional world. Deb, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yes, thanks for joining me today. Why don't you start by telling our audience a little bit about who you are and what you do?
So that's a big question, but we'll narrow it in here. I am currently and have been for over a decade a business development and practice growth strategist, primarily for lawyers, but really for all people who are in the professional services field. So typically partners and those trying to bring in books of business or grow their books or nurturing their teams or firms. And really getting into how do we build great personal relationships with our clients and our referral partners, our colleagues, that changes the trajectory of our days, our books of business, and really like how much we love what we get to do. Before that, I practiced for 15 years, primarily with a transactional corporate practice, both in big law firms and in-house.
Okay, very cool. I love this topic because, I've seen this work in my own life and my own business, how it's just the randomness of who you meet and who you interact with. And, you know, eh, the trajectory, as you said, can change so dramatically just in these conversations that we have with people.
There's a story I tell that I had a invite on my calendar pop up to join a meeting. I didn't even know what it was about, right? And I didn't really understand it, to be very fair. And I've actually gone back and looked at it to be like, was I just not paying attention? Nope, it really was like not quite clear. But I got on, and this one conversation, somebody asked a question about coaching and resources. And in the part of the conversation, it was just very natural. I said, hey, listen, happy to share some ideas with you. It has grown into the most magnificent relationship. And so many great things have come out of that. And it's just, I showed up, right? I didn't
Yeah,
exactly know what it was for, but I was willing to just show up and be in the moment. And it worked out, magically.
I love that. That's so great. Now as you mentioned, you have a background in law. I'm curious, how did you go from lawyer to now coach and working with lawyers? What was that transition like?
So it was actually I started the transition before I went out on my own. I had been in-house and came back to the big law firm that I'd started at to kind of finish my career. I didn't know I was finishing. I was just transitioning back. And that experience of having been in an in-house leadership and then now back in a firm, I really started to notice how we could be better together. And I started getting really curious about what are ways that we could help each other out, simplify things, and how a lot of the advice out there seemed to be the hard way, right? Like play the
Hmm.
long game, do all this, try to be everything and everywhere. And I was like, I had little kids at the time. My mom had actually passed away, like, or was sick at the time. It was just a lot going on. Like life was happening, right? And I was
Yeah.
like, there has to be a way for us to do this maybe differently or be better together and still get to have great careers, great clients, and it not have to stop when life happens. And I'm that person who, when I see opportunity, I really have to go explore it. Like I do walk into restaurants and want to sometimes reorganize them. Like I see like, oh, if we moved the line over here, look at how amazing that would be. And I will say that my family has taught me just not to mention it. Like I keep it to myself. I'm like, wouldn't it have been better if that, but I don't go there. But that's really what I do. I did it as part of my practice, right? I was working with companies and in-house departments and how do we streamline things and make it easier, right? How
Hmm.
can I help you make this all better, right? and then that translated to coaching and consulting. And after a while of doing that within that organization, I then transitioned out on my own.
Okay. Okay. So you kind of experienced some of these needs and urgencies in your own work and thought, hey, I want to bring this to other attorneys and help them as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also recognize that I probably didn't know it at the time, but I was raised in a family environment. First of all, I was raised by two entrepreneurs, and really like sitting down at the table at dinner was like you came prepared for the conversation. And I didn't really know until later on in life that like not everybody's dinner table like always looked that way, right? Like, and just
Mm.
all the conversations that were happening around helping each other out, and clients would show up at dinner of my parents, and it was just very natural to have client conversations as a
Mm.
part of my life, and I loved that piece of it, and I love bringing that to other people, right? Like just like you getting to have podcasts and getting to talk to all these different people, it's that conversation, that connection that for me makes it so amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So you are naturally good at this, it sounds like. Some of us are not. When I'm more introverted, I think, and when I first started my business and had to get out there and network and talk with people, it was very intimidating. How do you help people kind of get over that fear and put themselves out there?
So I'm a believer that there is a way, like everybody has their own approach. Like this is not one size fits all. Like it's not like extroverts do this, introverts. No, like we find what works for you. So different people I have my own approach when I walk into a networking event, which I don't always love, right? Um, but there's also like we all kind of have our own kind of way to go about it. So part of it is finding you and your style, like and matching that to the conversation.
Hmm.
But then truthfully, I love to make it almost a game, right?
Okay.
So if you walk into a networking event, often it's get out there and meet as many people as possible.
Hmm.
And I'd rather say to you, hey, listen, what happens if the goal today is go find three people that you're super excited to talk to next week, right?
Yeah.
You'll keep mingling, you'll keep noticing. And in your head, you're like, this, you get kind of out of the nervousness of like walking into the room and start to kind of be in the conversation, right? So I also believe like, in practicing, I'm not a big elevator pitch person. I think we can just get rid of that. Nobody wants to like hear a canned speech, right? Um, but I do think that like practicing gives like a little
Hmm.
bit of like takes the edge off a bit.
Okay. Okay.
So we can like, again, you have to sort of practice the conversation a little bit or like think of some questions that you really want to know about so that you have something to kind of anchor your experience,
Okay. So
right?
yeah, yeah. You said get rid of the elevator speech. What do we replace it with?
Really? So I'd replace it with just ditch it,
Ditch it.
but
Okay.
just ditch it. Literally. So I once had a client come to me and she said, I've been told to always have my pitch in my pocket. And I was like, and she goes, it doesn't seem to be working. And I said, well, why don't
Mm.
we put the pitch down and let's try something different, right? And I would rather you think of an introduction as just the conversation starter, right? So when you and I got on before you even hit record, right?
Hmm.
We exchanged a few like, hey, how's it going? Like we started like just building rapport and talking to each other, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
over time, like I want to ask like the next question that just allows the conversation to naturally unfold. When we hurry it and we try to like grasp it, like, let me tell you everything I do, like
Ah,
you sort of like lose it, right? It like becomes flat. People head to the bar. They're like, I hope maybe you'll be remembered, maybe it won't. I'd rather just take a deep breath and step into the discussion.
so letting it be more natural instead of, forcing it along.
A
Yeah.
1000%,
Okay.
right?
Yeah. That makes a
Can you
lot of
see how like
sense.
that's worked for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think, when you force it, then all of a sudden it gets awkward.
Okay, so have you ever walked into a networking event? And this is what I ask all the time. Has
Hmm.
anybody ever walked in there and heard, shh, we will now
Hmm.
hear the elevator speeches?
Uh,
No. You walk in and there's a group standing there. They're talking about like the pizza that they had the other night, and somebody else is talking about like, well, have you been to this place? And you're going to join the conversation. And yes, it might be about pizza or about a project. And you do want to get what you do and introduce yourself to others. But if you just walk in and say, hey, this is who I am and this is what I do, it like creates this awkward bubble,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So we want you to like join, take a deep breath, share your ideas of pizza, and then turn to somebody and say, hi, it's nice to meet you, by the way. I'm Darren, and then go from there.
Yeah, that really takes the pressure off. And I think that's easier to do. I've experienced that a little bit in my business. It's easier to do kind of once your business is a little bit more established. And then I find myself going to networking things and I can just relax a little bit more and just like have conversations with people. And the ironic thing is that almost is more successful. Would you say that's true?
Oh, I thought you mean just relaxing into the moment and like being there? 1,000%, right? Um,
Yeah.
and look at we've all had our awkward moments in networking, right? Like I come with a laundry list of awkward moments following me. Um, the point is just to learn how to be you and where you find your stride, right? If you love talking about the law and geeking out on what you love to do, like let's find a way for that to be your natural conversation. And
Yeah.
that's okay, right?
Yeah,
But there is a
absolutely.
lot of value in that small talk.
For sure. Small talk can be, yeah, it can be very challenging. How do you prepare for an event? Are there questions that you kind of get ready? Are there like key questions that are some of your favorites?
So I will tell you two things I really do believe in is one, not to over prepare.
Hmm.
So if you over prepare, you kind of lose the chance for the conversation because punchline, you already know the answers, right? So that's weird. Like, okay, can't do that. I actually work with most of my clients on finding three key questions for them, right? And no one's are the same, but it's a matter of finding out if you have one or two questions even that are kind of your go-to and you're almost using it like a mini research project. Again, it gets you out of your head, gives a purpose to the networking or to, and this can be for a one-on-one conversation. It can be a lunch, a coffee, a phone call. But it gets you out of your head, and then you can start to understand where there's some common threads,
Hmm.
right? And oh, if I understand the common threads, I can then use that in business development. I can use it in my thought leadership pieces. I can use it to expand the conversation. I can use it to help that person out. So I like to have like one or two questions at least, if not three, that like you walk in and kind of know that that's where you want to take the conversation as the opportunities appropriate.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe just kind of some general ideas of where you might go. Is there a time when you want to try and make that transition into business? What if it's not happening? What if no one's asking me what I do? What do you do then?
Okay, are we at an event or are we at like a one-on-one kind of conversation? What are we? I need an event that we're at.
Maybe we're in like at a breakfast event or something like that.
Okay. I'm like, I need you to set the scene for me. So I think at some point asking somebody what they do and being like, that's so interesting because what I do is this. I see it this way, and using it as a transition. So there's a time where we have to pivot and learn. And
Mm,
at that point, then start to share a little bit more about what we do.
okay. Okay, that makes sense. Do you have maybe a personal story or anecdote that you could share with us about how a conversation that you had, a networking event, turned into something or drastically impacted your business?
Well, okay. So I tell this story in my next book that one of the very first networking events I went to, you maybe can't tell from me sitting right here. I'm not tall. Okay. Let's just
Okay.
start with that. I am not tall. And it was like one of the very first cocktail parties that I'd gone to and like business contact cocktail parties. And I turned and it was a very crowded room. and my head hit the tray of of champagne flutes.
Oh no.
And yes, okay, like so bad. Like you can't imagine the horror, right? And it
Hmm.
landed on the client.
Oh wow.
Okay, so there's many a people who would think you're never recovering from this. Like just stay away from all networking events. I am still friends with that client. We joke about that day. It was never something that was held over. I mean, it was joked about for certain, right?
Yeah.
But it was not like it was one of those things where I just had to own it. But like because of it, it almost allowed like a different relationship to unfold. So I always tell people,
Hmm.
look, you can recover from anything. I recovered from literally flipping a tray of champagne. So like there's nothing that's gonna like really stand in your way of being able to get back in the game. But
Yeah.
I mean, just like I, told you that story before, like you show up for these conversations and just saying to somebody, what's going on? Like, what is it that you would love to change next year? Right.
Hmm.
And just having that like one, question, it allows so much to unfold and things to happen that you just can't anticipate until you just take a deep breath and join the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Um, that's a great story. I think that you probably, well, for one, you were very memorable, I'm sure.
And
Um,
such not the way I was. I mean, I think I came like geared with an elevator pitch and like I was, probably trying to be like super proper. And I just turned and
oh
that was
wow.
it.
Right, right. But I mean, that allowed people to see the humanness of you. And that is what, really people want that connection. When you can share, um, hey, I can make mistakes, that really helps people open up, I think.
You know what? Humans want to work with other humans. It doesn't mean
Mhm.
we don't want to work with people who aren't excellent at what they do and don't really care about their work. But at the end of the day, we're all human,
Yeah.
right? And life happens for all of us. And having the grace to go in and just, start with like, are you okay? Right? And being there and just being willing to like not charge in and be all work and all business or understanding the energy from the other side, I think has a lot to do with it, right? I
Mm.
think we connect on an energy level before we do our expertise.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. That's certainly true, I think. Are there some other we've talked about some of the mistakes people make. Um, are there some other like big faux pas that should be avoided in networking and conversations?
I mean, there's probably a laundry list, right? But I will tell you the biggest one that I see is failing to follow up or follow through afterwards.
Okay.
So you get this stack of cards, or you tell somebody, oh, I've got this article, you have to read it. And then you never send it,
Hmm.
right? So taking a minute and like afterwards making a list. It doesn't have to be, you don't need a fancy system. We don't need all the bells and, IT whistles out there. You just need a list. And like just remembering, okay, who did I meet? Who would I love to follow up with? Now, can we get you back in a conversation with somebody from 6 months ago? Sure, totally.
Yeah.
But it's a lot easier if you just send the email the next week.
Right, right, definitely. What do you do if no one has their business cards? They're like, "Oh, I didn't bring them." What then?
Okay, so I'm all about LinkedIn. I will tell you, somebody recently shared with me how to take your LinkedIn profile and turn it into a QR code and put it as
Mm.
your screensaver on your phone for a networking event.
Oh, smart.
That's as tech savvy as I get. Like, I'll be honest, and each time I do it, I have to like really think about how I'm doing it right, but it does work. Um, but you can find most people, right? Like you can either look it up, ask somebody for the email, right? Ask somebody for their name. Hey, you remember that person that was in our group? What was their name again? I can't remember, but I do want to send them, a quick note about something we were talking about.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets names,
Hmm.
right? It gets lost in the shuffle. It's okay. Admitting it and just moving on. Again, back to like you're human.
Right, right. That makes sense. Yeah. Speaking of business cards, we're in a new world these days. a lot of things are virtual. You and I are doing this on Zoom. How has networking and conversations, how have those things changed in a more virtual world?
Okay, so pre-pandemic, I believed this, but obviously the pandemic proved it to be true, is that we have to be able to work and connect without having to race to coffees and cocktail parties and networking events. I think we gained that skill set or enhanced it through the pandemic.
Hmm.
I think that you have to be more intentional about it, right? So,
Okay.
um, not to age myself, but when I started practicing law, right, way back when, there were no, we didn't even, I think we had laptops, but like to get Wi-Fi, I mean, there was no Wi-Fi. That didn't exist, right? Yes, that just aged me. But um, you showed up at the office and you were dragged to client meetings and you sat on a landline conference call, right? All the time. And you built connections in your network and had the conversations just naturally.
Okay.
Now you have to be more intentional. You have to find out like what are the days that other people are going into the office to be there when they are. You have to make a plan. I can't tell you, I'm a big pick up the phone and call people. And it throws a lot of people for a loop of like, shouldn't we have it scheduled? We need to put it on the calendar. And I'm like, I'm just going to call you, or you can just call me.
Yeah.
Right. And that's people want to like have a set time. So again, knowing how other people work and how they like to work now, it just takes like a little bit extra step, I feel like. Have you seen that?
Yeah, so you have to actually make a plan and be proactive with it. And I think a lot of that networking happened accidentally. It was
Yeah.
like, well, there's these events and I can just go to these events and I can network. Well,
Right.
now it's like, okay, maybe I should create something. Maybe I should create a group that meets on Zoom or, schedule a group meeting with some referral partners where we can chat virtually. Yeah, you're so right. Making that purposeful because it can be so easy just to, hunker down in my office and, I'm just here by myself and you gotta,
And listen,
yeah,
that gets lonely.
yeah.
Right? So I like, even within a law firm, I like to tell people host office hours. If
Mm.
everybody's working remotely, just be like, listen, I could use some company working today. Either I'm going to jump on a Zoom room and bring your stuff, bring your coffee. We'll talk, we'll get some work done. We can answer questions, but we can like just be working together or grab a conference room when everybody's actually in the office and just all meet up to work together, like almost like a coffee shop environment, right? But
Yeah,
make a plan to connect.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Deb, are there other big challenges that you are helping attorneys with or that attorneys are asking you about these days?
I work a lot with people trying to figure out how do I would love to build a book, but how am I possibly going to fit it into my day?
Hmm.
So a lot of my work, as a foundation centers around organization, productivity, crunching time to like really understand how to get to those big priorities and goals. Um, and I've developed programs over the years that address just that so it can open up the time and the space to be able to nurture your client relationships and to really, figure out what to do next, right? That's one piece. And the other is how to use your conversations to inform your thought leadership, your LinkedIn keynotes, articles, what you're creating to make sure that it's impactful. So you're not just shouting to the wind, and hoping that it resonates with somebody, but you already know that it resonates because you cultivated this knowledge with your clients rather than just for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you mentioned productivity. Give
Yeah.
us give us a hack. What's your big hack right now or favorite tool or tip that you're really excited about right now?
Okay, this might get me in trouble for how I tell the story, but I'm just going to do it. So, I always say you need to clean like your family just called and they're coming for dinner, right? So, like if I start out on a Saturday and I say I'm going to clean the house, I can get to Sunday night and I've done nothing. Do you know the
Hmm.
feeling?
Hmm.
Okay, see, yep, I can tell. You're like, totally there. But if your family calls, right, and insert relative of choice in your head, and they say, we're coming over, we'll be there in 15 minutes. How fast can you clean your house?
Oh, well, if I get moving, yeah, I can
You
do
get
it pretty
moving,
quick.
right? Oh, I can have dinner going, a table set, and the house cleaned 15 to 20 minutes.
You're talented.
I've got a lot of practice at this. Okay. Like
Yeah.
I'm good at this. So, but that's how we need to tackle certain tasks in your day. Like I like to think of them as work errands, right? So you've got home errands, the grocery store, the dry cleaners, the bank. You have the same things for work. Those little errandy things can suck up a whole day,
Hmm.
right? And instead, what we need to do is we need to crunch our time and how we tackle them and then move them out of the way, get our real work done or our real business development focus. And from there, like start to see, things happen and then go back and forth and knowing how to get into those little tasks without it like really taking over.
Hmm. Okay. What does that look like? Is that just like a mental shift? Like, okay, I'm gonna crunch down in this certain block of time and tackle these items.
Okay, so two things. One, I'm all about the 5 minute email triage, right? And I do not mean start at the top and answer your emails. I mean, set a timer for 5 minutes and delete, file, sort, and turn into tasks. Your inbox cannot be your filing cabinet, nor should it be your to do list.
Hmm.
Okay. And crunching those 5 minutes and just every so often during the day, grabbing 5 minutes. And I really do want you to set a timer to do it because otherwise you will stay there all day and just
Yeah.
keep cleaning out inbox. Because one coming in and one goes out, like
Oh yeah.
it's nonstop. I'm not
I've
into
been
that.
there.
We all have, right? So that's one tool. Another one is really thinking about how you're going to start your day the day before, right? If you wake up and you decide, like, okay, what am I going to do today? You can shop around for a project and like think through all the things you should do for quite a while.
Hmm.
If you have a plan before the day starts, you're far more likely to get something done before you have to triage for other people.
Yeah. Great advice. Thank you so much for those
Right.
tips, Deb.
Thanks.
So we're quickly coming to the end of our time here. It has just flown by. You've given us a lot of great things to think about. I want to ask you one more important question, and that
Okay.
is, what is your millionaire mission? And what I mean by that is, what's the big goal or driving force behind what you are doing?
It's such a great question. I truly believe that we get to have amazing careers, work with incredible clients, and have the life that you want to live. I
Hmm.
believe that it's all possible. And I believe that at the crux of it are conversations. And when we can engage in curious conversations and support each other, it's a game changer for the industry. It's a game changer for the professional space in our world, right? Like building community I think is more important than ever. And if I can have one piece of helping others connect into those great conversations, it really that's the magic to me.
I love it. Great stuff. Well, Deb, would you please share with our audience, how they can learn more about you and get in touch with you, and any last tips you have for us?
So first of all, I'm at debfeder.com. Come find me. I'm on LinkedIn. Love to post there and love to connect with new people. So would love you to come find me. I have a couple things. I have a scorecard at debfeder.com/scorecard that really looks at your conversations and your clients and your days and lets you kind of figure out what's that next best step. It is not like there's nothing weird that's going to send you an email that says you're an organization guru. I actually look at every single one and talk to each person about what are the opportunities next. So that is something I'd love to share. And my best next other tool that I would suggest is I put out a calendar every month that tells 2 tasks a day of what to do. And so I'd like to share 2 tasks that you can do. They're each
Okay.
5 minutes, right? So I've already given you one. Go do a 5 minute email triage. Just clear the clutter, see where the opportunities are in there and just that first 5 minutes. And then the second 5 minutes is shut off everything, paper and pen, and don't stop writing about what you want to achieve next. And just allow yourself to dump it on paper and start to see, afterwards, like notice the themes, notice the words, notice the conversations you'd like that need to happen to get there. And from there, we can figure out a plan.
I love it. Good stuff. Thanks so much for joining us, Deb.
Thank you so much, Darren. It was great.
It sure was. And thank you, the listener, for joining us today on this insightful episode of the Lawyer Millionaire Podcast. We certainly appreciate Deb Feder for opening our minds to new ways to build networks and turn simple conversations into abundant opportunities. Remember, we're here committed to guiding you further on your journey to financial success. If you'd like to learn more, please visit thelawyermillionaire.com or check out my book, The Lawyer Millionaire, available on Amazon. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review. I'm your host, Darren Wartz, and I'll see you next time.